Caught behind Venetian blinds, out of reach for the city lights. This ain't where I belong. Hey, look at me, man, what I've become. I've been running east, looking for a sunset, digging deep since '99.
Off for a walk this morning. We're going to do a bit of a half a loop. Pete and I with the three kids, and then Liz and Mel are going to continue on and complete the loop, which ends up taking them back to the campground. So we've just driven to the trailhead this morning, only about a 10-minute drive from the camp. Pete and I'll do a bit of this, and then we'll double back to the cars, pick the cars up, and the girls will complete the loop back out, while Pete and I go and do some very important men's business, like look after kids.
Don't look before you leave. What you give, you get to keep. So long, farewell, bye-bye. Let's have a toast for those lost old lives. And my crooked little heart that seems so rebellious is falling apart right now. I'm bleeding, an easy kill, gonna leave it all behind. I think it's time for me to go, burn all bridges. All I know, I got lost along the way, fell between the fold, pulling stitches. Time to let go, so come what may.
Assuming this little bit's spring fed, because the creek's certainly not flowing up further. The river isn't, unless it flows underground, which some of these rivers do, I believe, flow underground.
Where I belong. Look at me, mama, what I've
We've left the girls, they're off on their walk. The boys are heading back. I've got James on my back, Harrison's in front, Pete's carrying Jude. Here he is. We'll head back to the cars, pick them up. We're going to run them back to the campground and wait for the girls there.
Mom.
I reckon they'll get there about 45 minutes, an hour after we get there, I'd say. By the time we walk and drive and they walk around, I think they've got about 5.5 Ks. We've got 1.2, but then yeah, obviously then probably a 10-15 minute drive, and kids, lucky us. Maybe we should do the next walk, Pete. We do have beer at the camp. We pretend we don't want to go on these walks. Well, we don't want to go on these walks, and we don't need to pretend we do, because there's other things we could do. So the boys have had fun throwing plenty of rocks in the creek. Not a bad little. We think it's spring fed. It seems like the only plausible option for where the water's coming from. And then it flows downstream for a bit, but you can tell like it just creates life, like the water there. It looks pretty permanent. Get going, buddy. Harrison's losing his. You're losing your legs, mate. Yeah, he's just had a stack, just had a tumble. So anyway, hopefully the girls get some good footage of the bit they do, and we'll check that out when we see them back at camp.
So Mel and I have missed a checkpoint somewhere along the lines, and we accidentally walked a couple of kilometres in the wrong direction. We've got to a checkpoint that's B1 and we're not meant to be at B1. So we've added a few Ks, so we're just going to hook it back to B2 and then start heading back where we're meant to go. Shh, don't tell the boys we went the wrong way. It was a nice walk. It was a nice walk. We just got to get back to feed baby Jude, that's all. So we're going to hook it. We could even run, Melly.
Well, we'll go at a reasonable pace.
We'll go. I'm going to stop filming. You've seen this part of the B1 trailhead. Alright, we're hooking it. Do you reckon the boys will have dinner ready by the time we get home?
Everything is fine here, no rush.
Copy that. We're about 3.2 k's away. They've just radioed us to say, no rush, all is well. But it's just nice because they don't need to worry about us, we don't need to worry about them. It makes it really nice. Yeah. It's good. It's only now that we've got to rush because there's no wine in this backpack. And there's no gin in this backpack.
Give us a radio when you're getting close to the trailhead and we'll pick you up rather than you walk in.
Copy that.
That's love.
Pick us up with a gin. Pick us up with gin.
The boys have just radioed to say that they're going to pick us up from B5, which is where you can drive to. So it's going to save us maybe a kilometre. And we've requested they bring gin. Of course, there's an uphill section at the end of the trail. Oh, hey Pete.
Did they tell you on camera that they went the wrong way? They got a bit lost. So their 2-hour hike became a 4-hour hike.
But gin as requested.
I met them with a gin and soda, just to my big adventurers, eh?
Isn't he beautiful? Isn't he
All
lovely?
good, all good.
Yeah.
All's well then, darling.
You relax. I'll get you moving. Hey, Jasmine.
You want to have inside breakfast? Why?
So, it's sunny out there.
It's cold out there.
Yeah, freezing.
How cold is it out here, James?
Freezing cold.
Freezing cold. What's on top of the car?
Ice.
What's on top of the car?
Ice.
Ice.
Daddy.
Let's go look. It's a frosty morning. Frosty this morning, isn't it?
The ice on our car.
There's ice on our car, yeah.
Again this morning. We're a little bit dusty. We hit the red wine pretty hard last night, so we're just going to take it easy today, take it nice and slow, and enjoy the ride. We're going to come out the same way we came in.
Back on the road this morning after leaving Grindle's hut. So we, as Liz said, we had to go, well, there's only one way in and out. So we thought at one point we might have taken the four-wheel drive track in. Turns out it's just a four-wheel drive track to get to it. So we got the van in and out all right. It wasn't a bad track. It was just overhanging trees and branches we had to be a bit aware of. So we've made it back out. It probably took us about an hour, I think, to get maybe a bit more to get from camp back out to the Arkaroola Road. It'd be a fair bit less than that if you weren't towing though. Today's plan is just to get some Ks under our belt. We're going to head north from here and join up with the Strzelecki track. And then tonight I think we're going to camp at Murdy, which is just a little bush camp. There's nothing there, but it's where the old Strzelecki track branches off from the main, what is now basically a gravel road, the Strzelecki track. Righto, we're going to punch out some Ks, get some gravel under our belt, and we'll be off-road. We've got a fair bit of off-road, and the way with our planned route, we're going to be off-road for a couple of thousand Ks, so strap in, get used to the dust. Alright, in a Minka, 430 Ks.
Got enough fuel?
Hope so.
Got enough water?
Hope so. Oh man, this road is rubbish.
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 Rubbish road.
So we got to the end of the Arkaroola Road at the southern end and turned to the east, and now we're heading north. I don't know what this road's called. It could be called Copley Road. I don't know what it's called, but it runs from the Arkaroola Road up to the Strzelecki track, joins up with the Strez, and it is absolutely shocking. There's massive rocks, massive corrugations, huge washouts, big heaps of floodways. It's just shocking. We're like 50, 60 k an hour at the most. Like now we're doing 40. Just trying to find that balance, you know. You don't want to go too slowly on corrugations if you can avoid it, because it ends up making them worse. If you can keep your speed up a little bit, you do tend to float over them a little bit. But when there's this many other obstacles and, you know, washouts and big rocks and holes and stuff, it's hard to do, especially when you're towing, because it takes a little bit more to wash off speed if you need to in a hurry, so you can't afford to go too quick. It is what it is. I mean, we're committed to it now. We're going this way now. It's just going to take us a fair while, I reckon.
How bumpy is it, Harrison, on the 1 to 10?
It is the worst.
The worst. Is it the
Yeah.
bumpiest road you've ever been on?
Yeah.
We've just noticed this next dip's got some red flags on it.
Yeah, if you hit that in a hurry, you'd know about it. So the Flinders Ranges is off to our west, slowly disappearing into the distance, and we're just starting to come into the first of the sand dunes. So this is sort of the very bottom end of the Strzelecki Desert. They're pretty minor sand dunes at the moment. They're barely dunes at all, but it is the very sort of start of that desert country as we leave the sort of rocky terrain behind of the Flinders area.
Oh, there's a wedgie. It's on the bucket list. Mel has been hanging to get a photo of a wedge-tail eagle, and it was the only thing on the Flinders Ranges bucket list that we haven't ticked off yet. Pete wanted to go swimming, Simon wanted to do a 4-wheel drive, I wanted to go walking, Mel wanted to catch a wedge-tail eagle in flight.
The road's finally starting to smooth out. There's still some corrugated sections, but at least it's big flat clay pan type areas in between these little dunes. So you can just see another one coming up here. Yeah, I mean, barely a hill, but pretty cool nonetheless to get into the dune country. So yeah, the terrain sort of changed pretty dramatically. We sort of left that rocky country, a few big riverbeds, and then just straight out onto the clay pan. Been on the clay pan for, 50 k's, and then yeah, the dunes are just starting to pop up. So you can still see the ranges in the distance to our west. We'll intersect the Strzelecki in the next probably 100 k's or so, and then we'll turn north there and bang up the Strez for a bit. It's a pretty uneventful drive. There's a few cattle around, but it's a fairly, I wouldn't say it's boring, but it's certainly doesn't make great footage. It's just a lot of nothing, which is impressive when you're out here, but you got to just look. There's always something in the details. Like, it's easy to just glance over the landscape and think there's nothing out here, but yeah, once you get under the skin of it a bit, there's plenty out here, that's for sure.
It's a long way to the nearest next door neighbours for a cup of sugar, that's for sure.
It's getting pretty featureless now, the landscape. We're not too far from the Strzelecki now, I'd say about 40 k's. The dunes are well and truly gone. The trees are gone. You can, behind us, see the mountains in the distance, but there's not much in front of us. It's pretty wide open. The road's not too bad condition.
Yep. It's just flat. And you can see the haze.
So we just finished Copley Road from the Arkaroola Road out to the Strzelecki. We're on the Strzelecki track. So we got about another 130 more k's, something like that, till we get to camp tonight. So, to Murdy. So this is what we're going to be driving along for a while yet. This is the new Strzelecki track. So if you are driving the Strzelecki track, it's worth just taking your time and keeping an eye out. There are a lot of trucks that use this road, a lot of big road trains use this road. The Strzelecki track, if you're heading south to north, takes you through to Moomba, which is where the gas fields are, the big gas plant is. So there's a lot of trucks that run up and down this road taking supplies and things out to Moomba. You've also got to be careful, there's a lot of bull dust holes and washouts, so yeah, definitely don't be in a rush, take your time. There's also some sealed sections periodically along the track, which are set up as, they're put in as overtaking lanes basically. So obviously with all the dust and everything, if you come up behind one of these road trains, you've got Buckley's chance of being able to see around it to see if it's safe to overtake. So the sealed sections are there to allow other vehicles to overtake safely. So yeah, just keep that in mind. If you're, don't be in a hurry and try and overtake some of these big road trains. You can call them up on the radio and communicate with them if you, as well, to get an idea of when it's safe. But yeah, there are a number of sealed sections along the way.
It's actually really beautiful out there with the sun going down and I don't know, it's just nice colours.
There's a lot of colour in the landscape.
Yeah. A lot of nice reflections and glowing. Yeah, pretty.
So I was going to show you the ruins when we get there, but I've just realised where we turned onto the Strzelecki track, we've already passed the ruins. So what are they called? These Blanchwater ruins?
Blanchwater ruins, yeah.
So if you're travelling the Strzelecki track from Lyndhurst, you would go past them. We actually camped there last time I did the Strzelecki track. It's quite a good little campsite there.
Yeah.
Now, why are the Blanchwater ruins significant? Well, old Harry Redford is said to have pioneered the Strzelecki track. It's obviously not named after him, it's named after old mate Strzelecki, but it was made famous by Mr. Harry Redford because Harry worked up at a cattle station up in Outback Queensland, and one day Harry decided that cattle station had a few too many cattle on it. So he thought he'd lighten the load by about 1,000 cattle, or exactly 1,000 cattle in fact. But he didn't tell his boss. So basically Harry nicked 1,000 cattle. So he walked them from Outback Queensland down to Blanchwater, where the ruins are, which was a station at the time. So this is back in 1870 that Harry decided to walk these cattle down, and he used the Strzelecki track as his route to get these cattle down south. And he sold the cattle and probably thought he'd gotten away with it, but unfortunately the law eventually caught up with old Harry. Now when he went to court to face his charges of stealing these cattle, turns out that the jury was so impressed with his feat, with him getting these cattle down the Strzelecki track, that they let him off. So he did get away with it in a sense. So yeah, that's what I guess made the Strzelecki track famous, which I thought was a pretty cool story. Yeah, so old Harry got away with pinching 1,000 cattle. Fair bit of coin back in those days, I'd say. Probably set him up for a while. Wasn't able to read in the story whether he had to hand the money back. I'd say he probably didn't back in those days, but yeah.
He'd probably already spent it.
He probably already spent it. He probably spent it all at the Mari Hotel or somewhere. So we just turned off the Strzelecki track on the road to Gammon Corner. So we're just going to go down here about 10 k's and find a spot to camp for the night. And this is where the old Strzelecki track continues on towards Inaminka. So we'll be checking that out and seeing if that's going to be achievable with the caravan on. I'm hoping it will be. But I tell you what, the desert's just looking unreal at the moment. They've obviously had a fair bit of rain. I knew they had some rain, but it is green and lush. There's wildflowers everywhere. There's actually water lying in some places, lying around. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. I was out here a couple of years ago and it wasn't looking anywhere near as lush as it is now, and that was a pretty wet year as well. Yeah, so I think it'd be an awesome year to do the Simpson. That's not for us this year, but it'd be bloody unreal in there at the moment. So I was just going to say, if you've always wanted to do the Simpson Desert, or if you're curious about the Simpson Desert and what it's like to drive out there but don't want the full-on off-road adventure that the desert is, the Strzelecki is a great way to get a little introduction to it. The Strzelecki, between Gammon Corner and the Strzelecki track, the desert has a gravel road basically that crosses over it. So you just got to watch out for the big holes in it in the gravel road. But yeah, you could do it in a two-wheel drive. I probably wouldn't, but even an all-wheel drive would do this easily. The dunes in the Strzelecki Desert aren't quite as big as the ones in the Simpson, but they look very similar. Yeah, the Strez is like the baby Simpson Desert. Really, it's pretty cool. So yeah, if you're looking for an outback adventure, but not quite as extreme as trying to cross the Simpson Desert, which is pretty full on and pretty remote, maybe give the Strzelecki a go.
Holy smokes, this is stunning. This is just like a massive red sand, it's not massive, this just nice beautiful red sand dune right behind us. It's filled with flowers. Oh, it's beautiful. It's our last night with Mel and Pete, so I reckon we'll be up there with a glass of red. This is perfect. all your support and feedback. We absolutely love it. Get such a kick out of your comments. Join us next week as we say an emotional farewell to our good friends Mel and Pete, and then head on to tackle a flooded old Strzelecki track. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it, and we'll see you next Sunday.
Probably enough
Just ruined my pan. Pan shot.
Your pants.
Oh my